Good afternoon. My name is Andy Hallman. Later, we'll hear about Washington and Mount Pleasant athletes competing at the Drake Relays. But first, today's top stories. The Fairfield First United Methodist Church and the Food Bank of Iowa are putting on a benefit concert Friday, April 26th at the Walton Club in Fairfield. The band Full House will perform hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s at 7:30 p.m. The concert is a free will donation, and proceeds will go to Manna for Fairfield, an acronym that stands for Meeting Ageless Nutritional Needs Abundantly. Checks can be made out to First United Methodist Church with Manna in the memo line. The Walton Club will be open for patrons to purchase food and drink during the fundraiser, and the Walton Club is not charging Manna to use its facility, and the band is playing for free too. Full House consists of local musicians John Shermer, Jim Steinbeck, Myron Gukin, and Steve Lamb. The band hasn't performed for the public very much, but they didn't hesitate to volunteer their services when members of Manna approached them about supporting this worthy cause. Fairfield First United Methodist Church began its program to provide food to the elderly and disabled in June of 2020. Former Methodist Church pastor Beth Harbaugh said the program was created to serve people who were falling through the cracks, people who couldn't leave their homes or who were not strong enough to carry boxes from a food pantry. In the nearly 4 years since it began, the food bank has grown to a point where it's serving nearly 230 individuals in over 100 households. Earlier this month, the ministry delivered over 4,000 pounds of food. For more about the ministry and its upcoming benefit concert, here's Methodist Church parishioner Angie Lamb.
So Angie, can you talk about where the idea came from to do a benefit concert for Manna?
Sure, yeah, I'm on the missions committee here at the church, and we were just trying to think of an idea to raise some money for Manna for Fairfield, which is a food delivery service. And I just got to thinking, what better fun way to do it than to get a bunch of people together and maybe, have a band playing and some dancing. And so my husband, Steve, happens to belong to a band. They do rock and roll music, and who doesn't like rock and roll from the 60s, 70s, and 80s? And so, I just went home and I asked him, and he was right away. He was really excited to participate in this and check with his other band members. They've been together 30 years, and it's going to be a Walton Club. It's a great venue, and so what better way to serve the community by using other community members? And so we're really excited about this event.
Get in, everybody. We're going to the theater, and it's gonna be so fetch. Consider this your personal invitation from Queen Bee Regina George, the Broadway players, and the music department of Fairfield High School to attend Mean Girls High School version in the FHS auditorium. Performances will be Friday, April 26th and Saturday, April 27th at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday, April 28th at 2 p.m. General admission is $10 or $8 with an FCSD activity card. Adapted from the hit Paramount Pictures 2004 film of the same name, the Broadway run of Mean Girls was nominated for 12 Tony Awards. The plot explores how easy it is for teens to lose sight of their personal identity and morals when faced with bullying, peer pressure, and a desperate need to fit in. Katie Heron, played by Allison Hunger, homeschooled on an African savanna, is a naive newcomer to suburban Chicago. Damien, played by Connor Hawkins, and Janice, played by Ella Holderbaum, befriend and mentor Katie, helping her to survive the wild society of her bewildering new home. North Shore High School is dominated by the Plastics, a trio of predatory frenemies led by the charming but ruthless Regina George, played by Evie Messer. Gretchen Wieners, played by Nicole Hunger, and Karen Smith, played by Manon Kermit, are her devoted minions. The first song of the show describes Katie's story as a cautionary tale because Katie makes a series of poor decisions while under the influence of her peers, and soon learns that you can't cross a queen bee without getting stung. For a small group of women in Mount Pleasant, quilting is more than a hobby that brings them together. Over the last 8 years, they've actually used their quilting abilities to give back to those who served their country through their presentation of 500 Quilts of Valor. The Quilts of Valor Foundation works with groups and individuals like Jane Messer and the Iowa Patriotic Stitchers to present veterans and service members from all branches of the United States military with quilts as a symbol of gratitude for their service. The Iowa Patriotic Stitchers reached their 500th Quilt of Valor at a ceremony honoring 5 veterans at the Mount Pleasant VFW on Sunday, April 21st. Those honored Sunday included father and daughter Brian and Christina Anderson, who served in the Navy and Air Force, respectively. Additionally, 3 Army veterans, Justin Gillespie, Julie Carpenter, and Jim Mills, also received Quilts of Valor. Messer said a Quilt of Valor is her foundation's equivalent to a Purple Heart. The quilts take 2 to 3 weeks to make, and supplies cost over $300 per quilt, so it's not an easy undertaking. Messer said the group always welcomes donations and new members who wish to join their ranks. The group has completed over 60 Quilts of Valor every year for the last 8 years, and more hands certainly couldn't hurt. Mount Pleasant Community High School graduate Tuesday Davis encourages others to step outside their comfort zones and discover after his time spent at Des Moines Area Community College following high school. While Davis will graduate from DMAC next month with his eyes set on continuing his studies in biology and hopefully sociology next year at the University of Iowa, he spent a considerable amount of time in the DMAC honors program, focusing on developing writing and public speaking skills. Davis said he sought to achieve 3 goals through his honors program, such as taking classes outside his major, getting outside his comfort zone, and connecting with others. And while Davis's first honors program project remained within his comfort zone of biology, he remained true to his mission throughout his time at DMAC and ventured out. His later projects focused on topics like Brokeback Mountain and the L word. His latest project focused on living out this philosophy of personal expansion through a poster presentation entitled Unleash Your Words, Embrace the Courage to Publish. Davis continues to push himself and encourages others to do the same as he works on Writers Speak Better, which analyzes writers and their public speaking abilities. The second iteration of Farm to Film Fest has come and gone, and organizers say they're happy with how the weekend event panned out, despite attendance numbers slightly lower than they'd initially hoped for. Jimmy Morrison's documentary short, My Dad, the Honor Flight Director, was one of 3 submissions shown at the Washington State Theater, a landmark famous as the oldest continuously operating movie theater in the world. The venue's history wasn't lost on Morrison, but he said he was most thrilled by the location in Washington, rather than by the building itself. Film Festival Board President Lyle Moen said the appreciation from Morrison and other directors was shared by volunteers and organizers of the weekend-long event. Here's Morrison talking about why the film festival is special to him.
So it's actually really special for me because the film's about my dad, but it's also about my grandpa. My dad took my grandpa on the honor flight, and my grandpa and grandma actually grew up in Washington. And so literally in the 1920s, they came to this movie theater as kids, and now I get to show them on the big screen. So wow, yeah, it's like a dream come true for me.
Washington County supervisors voted unanimously to approve a budget for the next fiscal year on Tuesday morning. The bottom line includes a higher tax asking than in previous years to the tune of nearly $2 million, despite pressure from the state legislature and some constituents pushing for lower spending. The board also approved a 4% higher pay rate for elected officials in the same budget period on a 4-to-1 vote, with Supervisor Marcus Fedler voting no. While the fiscal year 2025 countywide tax rate is technically lower than in fiscal year 24, most property owners in Washington County will still owe the local government more money than they did last tax season, as valuations have risen faster than rollbacks have fallen. Much of the county's expected spending jump is fueled by capital projects, public safety investments, and paying back a 4-year loan to finance high-dollar emergency service infrastructure like police cars and a communication tower. Supervisor Jack Seward Jr. said he heard taxpayers' concerns, but saw no other way forward as the bills come due for the emergency service equipment and a new IT position. Those are today's top stories. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll hear about the Demons and Panthers competing at the Drake Relays.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Good afternoon. My name is Andy Hallman. Later, we'll hear about Washington and Mount Pleasant athletes competing at the Drake Relays. But first, today's top stories. The Fairfield First United Methodist Church and the Food Bank of Iowa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Newsbreak. This is your sports editor, Andy Krutzinger, with your sports report for Thursday, April 25th, 2024. And we've had a pretty busy week. Weather has gotten a little bit better in Southeast Iowa, so all 4 of our main spring sports have been going on without too many cancellations. Lately, we've had some pretty big games in the soccer race, including Fairfield and Mount Pleasant playing each other on Monday night. On the boys' side, the Fairfield Trojans get a 2-0 win over Mount Pleasant, getting revenge for a shootout loss at Mount Pleasant earlier this year. One of those goals was a Fairfield goal. Another goal was an own goal by the Panthers. And so the Trojans, a little bit of revenge in the Highway 34 rivalry. On the girls' side at East Lake Park, it was Mount Pleasant winning 7-0 over Fairfield. A couple goals each from Aurora Hummel, from Sarai Sanchez, and from Haley Parrott, and a goal from Cerise Awarda as well. For those Panther girls, they have swept Fairfield in the regular season. The Burlington soccer teams played against Washington. Washington and Burlington go at it. Boys soccer at Washington Wellness Park, a 4-2 win for the Demons. It was 2-0 at halftime thanks to goals from Brian Areola and Ben Cromledge. Burlington came back, tied that thing back up. It was 2-2. Areola breaks the tie in the 58th minute, and Lucas Lindsay makes it 4-2 in the 72nd. Big win for Washington. That was Burlington's first loss in conference play. Washington and Burlington trailing Fort Madison right now in the boys' soccer standings, but that race is definitely heating up. We've got a little bit of soccer going on tonight, including Mount Pleasant versus Washington. Girls at Washington Wellness Park, boys at East Lake in Mount Pleasant. We have some track athletes going to the Blue Oval. Among them, a group of 11 athletes from Washington. That includes Micah Reese in the 3200. He's one of the favorites in that one in the Drake Relays this weekend. Josh Anderson, one of the favorites in the wheelchair events. He's been running roughshod in all 4 of those this year. Him and Jaden Stafford from Mid-Prairie will be going head-to-head in those. Mount Pleasant has a girls 4x1 and a girls 4x2 going, and they've also got Avon Trong going in there, returning in the long jump. And the Fairfield boys with a couple of high jumpers, Ryan Giberson, Eli Zillman. They've had some big jumps this year. We're hoping that the weather stays okay in Des Moines. Drake Relay started yesterday, but the high school stuff starts today and goes till Saturday. Seems a little stormy on Friday and Saturday, so we'll see how that works out. Boys golf teams were in Mount Pleasant for the Mount Pleasant Invitational, 18 holes, and the winner, Roman Roth and the Washington Demons. Roth gets first place again individually. Demons a win again individually. Mount Pleasant second in that. And Fairfield gets third, 1, 2, 3 for the Union area big schools. A little bit of tennis action going on. Mount Pleasant played Fort Madison in tennis on Monday. MP boys win 9-0, MP girls win 9-0. And then on Tuesday, Mount Pleasant hosted Davis County in boys, won 7-2 at Eastlake Park. And the girls go to Maharishi, where the red hot Maharishi squad wins 7-2. The Fairfield tennis teams have basically been rolling lately. The girls team has lost their second straight, fell to Burlington on Tuesday, but they are now 4-3 overall and 2-3 in SEC play. The Fairfield boys dominant 8-1 win over Burlington. They had not lost a set in or not lost a game in SEC action so far this year. Fairfield boys are unbeaten, untied, and untouched, and they also won the Pella Invitational last Saturday. So a really, really hot start for the Trojan boys. Tonight, as I said, we had some soccer. We got track at the Drake Relays. Tennis teams are in action. Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, and Maharishi all in action. We've got golfers in action this weekend. It is a busy, busy time. So stick with Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Show on Tuesdays, this show News Break on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and keep up to date with area sports. But for right now, we're going to come back, and Alex has your obituaries.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Welcome back to Newsbreak. It is now time for your obituaries. Wilma Jane Hootman of Fairfield passed away on April 20th at the age of 89. A graveside service was held on April 24th at 11 a.m. at the Evergreen Cemetery in Fairfield. Robert Bobby Dean Smith of Birmingham passed away on April 21st at the age of 86. Funeral services were held at 10:30 a.m. April 25th at the Zion Bible Church. Alfred Marcel DeLay of Oath, Kansas passed away on April 20th at the age of 98. Graveside services will be held at 1:30 p.m. on April 25th at the Lockridge Cemetery. Wilma Marie Jones of Iowa City passed away on April 20th at the age of 100. A private graveside services will be held at the Columbus City Cemetery. Viola Mae Carr of Washington passed away on April 17th at the age of 79. A memorial service will be held at 11 a.m. April 27th at the Wellman Cemetery. Craig Doug Farr of Mount Pleasant passed away on April 22nd at the age of 55. The family will receive friends from 2 to 6 p.m. on April 26th at the Murphy Funeral Home in Mount Pleasant. That is your news with Southeast Iowa. I've been your host, Alex Snyder. This has been your news break, and I will see you